Hello and welcome to another episode of The Whole Package by Premier Packaging. I'm your host, Billy Watkins, and today we're joined by Steve Burmester, National Sales Rep for Premier, an employee for like 30 years,
That is
right?
correct.
Which we'll get into a little down the road. But first, Steve, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Well, I'm born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh.
Lived here my whole life. My family's born and raised here too as well. So I kind of, been here again since the genesis of Premier, which is kind of crazy to think, but
since the beginning. I like the genesis of Premier. That's a good.
Yeah.
That'd be a good title to something.
I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot.
As Louisvillians are wont to do, everybody starts off with where'd you go to high school? I don't know why that is, but so yeah.
Well, I went to grade school in the Catholic community, as you could imagine, the Louisville Catholic Mafia, as we kind of laugh and say. But I went to Louisville St. Xavier High School, and then I went on to the University of Louisville and graduated from U of L, and then got my job here at Premier probably in the middle of my summer of my sophomore year.
Okay, BS in economics from U of L, University of Louisville. Did you have an eye towards something more economy based, or were you always looking at sales?
I was always kind of interested in like the business portion of it.
Right.
I kind of bounced around between accounting, finance, even did just different undecided, different things. But that's just kind of what I landed on at the end. And I got to a point where I was like, I got to make a decision. And I kind of like the ins and outs of business to try to understand it. But, that's just where I ended up to be.
Yeah. And sales itself, it's a very competitive field, right?
Absolutely.
Is that what you like about it, the thrill of the chase?
I do like that. I do enjoy that. I do like helping people. I think helping people along through their careers, to try to make them look good as far as accomplishing their goals while accomplishing ours as well. We like to be a part of that organization and trying to achieve a goal with a customer. That's what I kind of feel like I get the most benefit out of.
It's a two-way street. It's not a battle. It's
totally.
So you were a college student when you started at Premier,
right?
Somewhere back in '94.
Correct.
Brand new company.
Correct.
How did you come to work here?
Well, I've known John Gaynor a long time, and I was working my way through school, paying my way through school, and I was working at the county clerk's office, just trying to make some money, trying to just pay for school just to get done with it. John called me and said, hey, I have this opportunity that I want to talk to you about, just think if you would be interested in it. So I said, okay, sure. So we met at a restaurant on a Sunday night, and he kind of told me about this thing that he was talking about. I knew he was always in the box business and stuff like that. And he said, and my partners and I are looking for a young guy in business that might be interested in sales. And he said, and I thought of you, would you be interested in talking to the folks? And I said, sure. So, again, I was just kind of, it didn't really have any career or where I was going or whatever. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. So they started me off. I remember interviewing with Ben Blanco, which was again 30 years ago. Yep. And I think he was 26. I was 19. And they gave me a pager, which I thought was cool.
Oh yeah.
At the time,
yes.
And a phone book. And the thing that I appreciate the most is it was hard the first year. I told John, I said, man, we've had 4 price increases of paper in the year. I said, these people can't stand me. And I just
nothing
was
but bad
lucky.
news.
Yeah, it was terrible. And I just was like, and he just, I had a lot of support, a lot of people behind me. And that's what I have a lot of gratitude for, is people like, they paid attention. They wanted to support me. I had to put in a lot of effort, which was great, but they believed in me. And that's why I'm here today, I guess. So 30 years ago.
So we go from the dinner with John.
Yes.
That tumbleweed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd say that, but tell us what those early days at Premier were like. I've heard stories, and I've heard folks tell the tales from like 7th Street, right?
Correct.
And this used to be an old tobacco warehouse.
Correct.
Right? What was that like?
It was, you had to see it to believe it, to be honest with you. Obviously it's an old tobacco warehouse. We would have a pallet of boxes, and just because of what it was in, there would be dust that would settle on the boxes. So I remember seeing people with, industrial blowers or air hoses hosing off the pallets to get them to the customers. Just things like that. I remember when we bought our first new slitter, which just made pads.
Right.
That was a big deal back then.
Like the simplest machine you could
Totally.
have,
And then we had like printer slotters, which didn't have the flexo gluer.
Right.
People were hand gluing boxes. We're just out beating the streets, from a sales point of view, getting to know people as best we can, try to make friends, trying to just get people to believe in us. And that was hard.
Yeah.
But, we still have hard things we do today, but back when you didn't have the resources and you had just basically hustle and, dreams and trying to, get people to believe in you,
Right.
That was a challenge.
Grit and determination.
Absolutely. You didn't have, all of the things that we have now. So, which is good to see.
And from that, and I love that. It says it very well. Going from a printer slotter and then having to glue the boxes by hand.
Yeah, no, that's real deal. I did some myself.
And now we're in Mexico, we're in Canada, we're all over
Right.
the U.S. From your viewpoint, what has driven that success?
Well, I think, the support that you've had, the vision, the strategic planning, the hustle, there's all of those things combined. Salespeople, we're interfacing with the customers. We have to back up what we say and believe in what we do. I mean, there's been times where customers have asked us to do some crazy things, and we just got to try to, walk away from it and say, look, I don't know the answer right now, but I'll get back to you and see how we can figure this out. And fortunately, with the backbone of Premier and the vision and the sales driven portion of it, we do that. We've been successful with that. And we would not, sitting where I sit from a sales position, we would never be good at what we do half as good as we are without the support of the internal people, of the people that make the boxes, shipping them, strategic planning, all of that stuff. So it's a group effort as far as I'm saying, but it's just a good place to be.
Yeah. The sales process for you, when you've been doing this for a while, but you still go after new accounts, you still have prospects. When you go into a new account, what are you leading with? What are you pitching to them? Are there specific products, or is it maybe just our process?
Well, with me, I try to find out as much about the company internally on the internet, just find out what they do, do a little homework on that. And then the other thing is I try to go in and try to understand what, why are we here? What problems are they having? Most people that when they invite you in, they're having some challenges. And we don't want to come in and say, this is the way you got to do it. We use, me personally, I use little bits and pieces of things that I've learned from other companies and try to see where we can fix the problem. We don't go in with just a plan. We kind of ask a lot of questions, understand what the needs are, whether it's labor, whether it's a box design, whether it's, anything that they need to be successful, to help speed them up, to gain efficiency so they can be profitable as well. So it's a joint effort, right. But sometimes I tell them that, just because I'm in here and I'm giving you ideas doesn't mean it's gospel. It's
right.
just more of experience. So I don't have all the answers to the questions, but I've just seen a lot, and I try to share that and input that where I can.
Have you? Is it all over the place? Do you have some that some stuff that you can close in 48 hours, or have you had customers where it's you've kept the conversation going and a year later you finally get the first order?
Yes. So there's projects that I've had that I have a customer that I worked on a project for 5 years. And they finally, you got to go through the process. Then you would, have to hit the reset button again. And then you would go through it again, and you would be like, you're finally at the end of the tunnel, and then somebody would come and say, well, we can't do that, and here's why. So it's not as easy as it sounds when people say, you worked on a project for 5 years. That's a long time, but it's definitely worth it, and the customer showed the benefit at the end. So that was probably very satisfying for
sure.
Premier and also the customer, because it helped them put money in their pocket as well.
What's the hardest part? Is it just getting your foot in the door, or?
That can be challenging, but there's things nowadays which you can, there's tools that you can use like LinkedIn to try to meet people. You can see how people are interconnected. That's a powerful tool, which again, 30 years ago, I never had that.
Right.
You just have to go and knock on
You had a
doors.
beeper.
Right.
Phone book.
And, and just trying to get through, the hardest part I would say is probably just navigating to get to the right person who's the decision maker. Because, you just don't deal with purchasing agents anymore.
Right.
You're dealing with operations folks, you're dealing with management, you're dealing with engineers, you're dealing with finance people, you're dealing with financial analyst people. So it's a mixed bag, which, again, has forced me to kind of change a little bit about myself, but I've learned a lot along the way. And again, I love listening to what people have to say.
What are the trends you're hearing? You talk to so many different people in a particular business. What are they pushing these days?
Everybody's trying to save money, trying to cut costs. Some of the things that you can do, we always go to market, just try to, redesign stuff, try to make it a little bit more efficient for them. Every situation's different. It just depends on what, I try to ask them what their goals are to try to do it. Some people want to be as lean as possible. Some people want just-in-time inventory, which, obviously goes into the lean portion of it. But, the way we go to market is we just try to get the best fit. So, for example, when we do bin box operations, we can go in and give them the cheapest thing.
Right.
But we don't want to stand behind that. We want to sell them something that's solid. They might have to pay a little bit more, but they're only going to buy it once, because that's a CapEx expense for customers. So, obviously you've been heavily involved in that, but that is kind of what we set the stage and set, expectations of, we're not going to be the cheapest, but we're going to give you the best thing. It's going to look good. It's going to be a good presentation, and you're going to get, your money is going to be well spent. The things that I see sometimes in the market is where people, and again, staying on bin boxes, where they get the cheapest thing, and then after a couple months they're replacing them.
Right.
And we talk about that up front, but we set the stage. We make sure that we're going to show them what they're going to be buying, and it's worked pretty well.
What's do you still get excited over, you make a big sale? Is
Sure.
it still that feeling of accomplishment? For sure? Yeah.
It's accomplishment, especially like when you've had long ones that you've earned. I always try to come in and we want to earn it. We don't want to just say, hey, there's the price. Kind of get into an auction kind of situation, but we want to show our value. We want them to believe in us. We want them to, when we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. Now, is there challenges sometimes? Things happen, no doubt.
Right.
But we kind of work through that. And I think as long as we're communicating properly, that goes a long way in today's world, because, people that we call on are wearing so many different hats and have so many different responsibilities that it's hard to track them down. So for me as a sales rep, my follow-up and my chasing down of certain people has been elevated because of that, but that's my job. And, it can be challenging at times, but that's where you kind of just stay in front of them as best you can.
Yeah. Change is constant.
Absolutely.
Conversely, you lose a big one. What do you do from that?
Well, those aren't always fun.
Yeah.
But I always try to, obviously I want to keep the relationship and keep it going, but I ask them questions on, okay, if you were me for next time, where did I not, what pushed us out? Can you help me just, understand why, what could I do differently this time or last time or next time or whatever? There's all of those things that I work with that I just like to learn what they had to say. I think that's educational for me as a person, being a salesperson, to kind of understand for next time. And maybe I can apply that to the next opportunity, whether it's with that customer or another customer. So I kind of try to understand what they're looking for in the beginning. Sometimes that's hard because some of them are they don't share as much as you can, but that's a challenge. But
Right.
I respect that. But, I want to try to get to know them and earn their business and try to get them to believe in us.
Do you in that respect, do you have customers that you consider friends, that
Absolutely.
it's gone beyond
Totally.
just, yeah.
Totally. Again, there's been some people that I've been calling on for 30 years.
It's kind of hard not to.
And it's hard not to get to know them. You get to know their families. You get to, but I like to go in and, obviously you got to talk shop, but also like to understand what they'd like to do outside of work.
Yeah.
And I think people like that. I get, like to understand what people's families are, what they like to do in their spare time. I think that's valuable, just because when you come in, you just don't want to talk about that all the time because they do it all day long, and you just kind of want to say, hey, what'd you do this weekend, or stuff like that. So
As demanding and crazy and price driven as it gets, it's there is still a huge personal
totally. Well, sales is
component
personal.
to it.
If you're not gonna let people in, or you're not gonna try to get to know people, it's probably the wrong seat on the bus, if you were to say. But I find a tremendous value of that is you try to make friends, and whether you go out to lunch with somebody, or you take them to play golf, or which has become harder because people have families and their time is stretched thin. You just try to get to know them. And that's been the most beneficial thing for me.
It's all those shy introverts that make good salespeople.
Right.
You don't hear that.
Which is not me, obviously,
No.
but it's just again, there's a spot for everybody. It's just a matter of what you like to do.
Do you have, without getting too detailed customer wise, have there been ones that you that were like, you landed Moby Dick with that one, the big ones that make you particularly proud?
Yeah, answering the question, I don't know if there's anything in particular, but there's moments where you flash back in time as far as like milestones of things that you did. I remember a long time ago, we sold a customer that just printed t-shirts.
Okay.
This was back in probably 95 or 96, and they were buying like 10,000 boxes from us a month, and I thought that was amazing, which it was at the time, but that was a big win, and you just kind of build on top of that. Obviously, businesses evolved, and companies have came to town, regional customers. I've been around a long time, which is a benefit for me, is that you get to know people, and people go to other jobs, and try to give them the best experience, whether you're dealing with them or not. Just try to get to know them and try to help them.
I recall one, and this wasn't that long ago. Let's say it was maybe, let's say 2012 or something like that, and it was around the holidays. And you had sold a fairly large account of, and there were it was kitting involved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone knew, probably not even the customer knew, what the volume was going to be, and but I do recall you were in there putting the kits together.
Yes,
at night
yes,
to make it happen.
And those are the things that people look at that and think, man, that was really that was not fun for you. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed
You
it
probably liked
because
that,
I've delivered boxes. I still to this day I've delivered boxes in my car, or a case of tape or something like that. But I think you establish credibility that when you do things like that, it usually people don't forget that kind of stuff.
Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to in the future, stuff that Premier's got on the burner that excites you?
Well, I think that from what I know, I think that the future opportunity for us to open up more plants is always exciting for a sales rep, because we have things that get thrown over the fence or come to us as far as trying to get to the customer the quickest, which is kind of like the e-commerce situation. Everybody wants to get to stay as close to the customer as you can. I'm excited to see how that evolves. The future here is always ever changing. We're sky's the limit, which is kind of what charges people about it. I've again 30 years. I've seen a ton, but when you talk about things that we've done, I feel like some of these things that we see or they talk about, I feel like it was yesterday.
Right.
And that's flown by. But I've enjoyed it.
30 years. It kind of skews perspective.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of ways.
And me as a person in my seat who's been around 30 years, I've become, I appreciated all the mentorship that I've had with people, people that may know that they're my mentor. There's a lot of people that might not know they're my mentor, but I appreciate the time and the conversations of people to help you get to your goal is what I found some of the most valuable stuff. I mean, some of the people that have retired or no longer with us, I mean, they've been they helped me a lot, and I learned a lot from them and taken bits and pieces and advice from them, and I appreciated the wisdom and the experience, and I feel that's important.
We are a team.
Absolutely.
Sure. What do you do after a long, hard day of selling? What do you do to unwind?
Well, it could be a Monday. You never know.
Right.
But no, it's I do a lot of things. My kids have gotten older, and spend a lot of time with them. Go to the lake on the weekends. Play a lot of golf. I have a 16-year-old that's still in high school playing sports, so kind of do that.
Keeps you busy,
and just spend time with my family and friends. And some of my friends have came back around just because we've raised our kids, and some people are empty nesters, so it's kind of been fun to rekindle some of those relationships and stuff like that. But not too much. I mean, travel a little bit, but just. I'm a pretty simple guy, I feel. I go to sporting events. Don't really, I just kind of, drink a few beers, every now and then. Can you say that?
I think you can say that.
Okay.
I was gonna ask if, because I think about sales. If I was, does it still happen where you're taking buyers out and it's like the 3 martini lunch? Do you ever get any of that kind of?
No. That's kind of, like I was
gone by.
Well,
right?
What I said earlier was, I was never into that, but you trying to get people out for a meal or trying to just get some time outside of the office it's become challenging nowadays because a lot of people work remotely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, some of my customers work out of town, but they have they're so into the daily grind of their job. They have kids or they have a family or other obligations, and that's become harder and harder to capture people's time outside of the workforce. So I would say that's probably one of the bigger challenges of sales, just because I deal with people that make decisions all over the country, and you have to adjust to time. I have customers that again, it's border to border, coast to coast.
Yeah.
That's being in my position, but I also have local accounts too. But I just like, seeing people and meeting people.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of what it's all about in sales, right?
That is
Developing
true.
the relationship.
That is true.
Steve, thank you very much.
Well,
it's always
for
good
having
to
me.
talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We go way back.
We do.
I feel this has been a good conversation.
Yeah.
I haven't
I remember you in customer service.
messed anything up
I
or
remember you in
something.
customer service.
Missed a truck or something like that. So I appreciate your time.
Again, I appreciate being here, and I enjoy these watching these things and listening to what people have to say.
Thank you, sir. Steve Burmester, everyone, National Sales Rep for Premier Packaging. I'm Billy Watkins, the host of The Whole Package by Premier Packaging. Until next time, everybody, bye-bye.
Do you have comments, questions, or ideas about this topic? If so, we'd like to hear from you. Please visit primpack.com/podcast to let us know what you think. Thanks.